Hi, my name's Julie Anderson, and thank you for being here. This is Deepak Saini, Health, Performance, and Longevity Coach. Deepak, thank you for being here.
Pleasure, Julie. Happy to be here once again.
So is this part 4 now of what we're...
I think this is part 4, yeah.
Deepak is a wealth of knowledge, and he is going to be dispelling a lot of common health myths. Deepak, hit us up. Let us know what we're doing wrong.
I'm going to start off with 3 myths that are kind of interrelated. So one, I'm just looking off some notes here. You need to carb load for a long workout, number 1. So sort of like the night before a run. If you're doing a long endurance event, you're not adapted to perform off of a mixture of ketones or using your own body fat, then for sure you're going to need some carbs in your system to replenish muscle and liver glycogen, etc. But the absolute need to carb load, like before an event, like a lot of these races, like I'm talking more like kind of running races, we'll have like past a dinner night the night before the race. You just like load up and all that sort of thing, and that's like an absolute myth. So there's 2 parts to this. One, if you're not if a person's adapted to work off of ketones and their own body fat, then you definitely don't need to do that. Like I've done half marathons fasted. So like it can be done if your body's adapted to it. If your body's not adapted to it, which many people are not, then yes, you're going to need a little bit of carbs, sugar, if you will, to fuel your long distance event or what have you. But this myth to like carb load, like you got to eat a ton of pasta or a ton of bread or whatever the night before to like boost up your muscle and liver glycogens, like that's an absolute myth. One, there's only so much your body can hold, your muscles can hold. So at a certain point, like just extra is just going to be sitting in your stomach and then excreted out. That's number 1. Number 2, studies have shown that if you're going to want to sort of build up, because you're going to have a long endurance, you're going to be depleting your glycogen stores, you actually need to start doing that, phasing in and sort of like the week or 5 days leading up to really fill up your muscle and liver glycogen stores. You can't do it the night before. Your body doesn't have time to even convert all of that. So that's that myth. So yeah, you gradually want to up your carbs. Again, if you're not a ketone / fat burner, an extra 25 to 50 grams, for that week or 5 days leading up to really make sure your stores are full. You can't do it all the night before. And I can't tell you how many times, obviously you're doing a race, it's early in the morning. Most people have, have to go to the bathroom, bowel movements in the morning. That's kind of normal. But I can't tell you how many times I've been at a race and like people are in like GI distress right before the race or during the race, which is even worse. Julie, you did Ironmans and stuff, like you triathlons. You've probably seen that too. Or the lineup is huge. But yeah, there's a nervous pee, and then there's like I'm gonna be sick because I maybe carb loaded or that morning had something different or you gotta train how you're going to eat before a race or whatever the event is. You can't just mix it up that morning of or what have you. And the same thing too, I'm going a bit off topic here, but even during the race, at 8 stations and they're handing out, whatever they might be handing out. If you didn't train by taking that stuff, don't take that stuff. Drink your water, drink your snacks or whatever you're going to bring with you, and just stick to your plan. Don't be thinking, oh, that's some new product. I wanted to try that. And they're handing out at, mile, whatever. But you've never had that before. You totally upset your stomach. I made that.
Not a good idea.
I made that mistake before. And,
speaking from experience, not a good idea.
yeah. I made that mistake before. Luckily, it didn't affect my race. It just, kind of the next, maybe kilometer or so, it was kind of like just more of a yucky taste in my mouth. Like, what is this artificial junk that I just ingested? That type of thing. So that's a myth. You can't carb load the night before. Another thing, sort of interrelated, not so much for like an endurance event or like an event, but just a regular sort of workout, whether it be strength training or a run or what have you. This thought that you need to eat within 20 minutes of finishing your workout. You have to eat. Like you're in that zone. You're in your prime building zone. Like this is all just marketing BS. Bodybuilding stuff. I guess it really depends on what your goals are. If you're trying to put on mass, okay, sure. If you're trying to get huge and swole, okay, that's not most people. Sure, people want to have lean muscle mass, but most people just want to be healthy. And actually, most people actually are probably wanting to lose weight. Whatever, 50-60% of the population is, overweight or obese, right? So most people wanted to lose weight. So this myth that you have to eat right away, I like to, personally, I like to work out in the morning in a fasted state, so that I'm, already working on ketones and my own body fat to fuel my workout, whether it be a cardio workout or a strength training workout. Then I like to stretch, and then I'll even go in the sauna or, other self-care modalities, and I'll have a shower. And also I'll usually go, 2 hours sometimes after my workout is done, before I actually have my first meal. Now, I fast, and we'll get to that in a little bit, and not everyone's going to do that. But the longer you can extend, that period before you eat something, before you ingest calories, carbohydrates, after your workout, you're just going to stay in fat burning mode. So again, depends. People are going to work out. The best time to work out is when you can get it in. So that's number one. Just get it in. That's good for you. But I would suggest for many people, and I try and do this with most of my clients, is work out in the morning if you can, and then just delay that. Have your shower. Have a coffee first, and maybe have your breakfast sort of mid-morning or whatever, and just extend that sort of fat burning zone. Because if you're already, for most people, right, kind of depends when you had your last meal, and if you snacked right before you went to bed, and that's kind of affects your sleep, and that's kind of another story. But most people are going to be in a mild ketosis state when they first get up, because you haven't eaten for 7, 8, 9 hours, or maybe 10 hours, even depending when you had your last meal to when you went to bed, how long you slept. And then if you get up and do your workout, you're definitely going to be in a mild ketosis state, and then just be in fat burning mode. And then if you can extend after your workout a little bit, an hour or two, whatever, or longer in my case, then you just keep that sort of fat burning mode going, using your own ketones and your own body fat as fuel. So this myth that you have to eat 20 minutes after, or have a protein shake or whatever, like within that window, the magic window, that's all BS. That's never been proven. So moving on to the next one. Oh, it's kind of interrelated. So before your workout, I'm kind of more talking about like a strength training workout here, or most people do. It's like, you need to preload. You got to like load up. You got to have, a protein shake and blah, blah, blah to fuel your workout. Again, I guess it depends. Again, with anything, everyone's going to be different. Everyone's going to have different goals. If you're, really trying to kill it and, do personal best that day, or really bulk up or gain size or something like that, which again is not most people, as per my earlier comment, you really don't need to do that. If you're going to really be going hard at it, again, if you work out in the afternoon or the evening, obviously you've probably had food beforehand. But if you're having an afternoon workout or early evening workout, probably your lunch is enough fuel. Maybe sure, have an apple or something like that. But need to slime in a protein shake or something like that, or to bulk, to fuel your workouts. Like, really, we have enough calories on our bodies. Even very lean people are going to have thousands and thousands of calories stored on them. So you can easily fuel your workout for a normal workout, right? And again, if you're really going to kill it one day, you're really going for a personal best on the bench press or whatever you're doing, okay, sure, but that doesn't necessarily mean to have like protein shakes or creatine or something like that. Those type of things can play a role, and that's a bit of a different story. But the myth that you have to load up 20 minutes before your workout to fuel your workout, you don't really need to do that. Like I said, many people can do endurance events fasted, and or even strength training fasted, for sure. So that's a myth that exists out there. And again, I'd be if anyone wants to comment once they see this and further questions, happy to answer them, get a little bit more detailed into these first three myths that we've talked about. Julia, I'll throw it back to you if you have any questions on any of those.
No, this is great. I like that you're making the distinguishing where it's like between what a person's goals are, what they're trying to aim to do, and like the rest of the world, like, the average person, because they're given the exact same information that, say, like an elite athlete is doing, or somebody that's like trying to like win some bodybuilding competition, and it just doesn't apply to them. So that's awesome.
Yeah, like I've seen this is a bit dated now, but just to your point there, Michael Phelps, ate like 12,000 calories
Yes.
a day or whatever. I was like, well, Michael Phelps was in the pool swimming for like 5 or 6 hours a day and then doing dry land training for another 2 hours. That was his job. He was a professional athlete.
Mhm.
Most of the people in the world, the vast 99%, 99.9% of the people in the world are not professional athletes. And I'm going to gather that I'll make a guess that 100% of the people who are going to see this video are not professional athletes. So,
Yes.
and you could be very active and wanting to and do things and be training and be a high performing age grouper in your race, biking, cycling, whatever running, whatever it might be. But you don't need to train like a Michael Phelps or a NFL linebacker or Major League Baseball player or whatever, right? That's there's a big difference there. So I'll
Awesome.
just move on then. So this is one I kind of alluded to earlier about fasting. So you hear a lot. So essentially, number one, fasting's been around for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Essentially, one could argue that since the beginning of mankind, we have been fasting at some point. Every major religion in the world has some component of fasting throughout the year. So the myth that fasting is starving yourself is completely false. There's a big difference here. So when you're starving, that means when someone is starving, you don't know when your next meal is going to be. You don't know where you're going to get food from. You're in super survival mode. When someone is fasting, they're making a choice for a variety of health reasons. And I know when my next meal is going to be. So I mentioned earlier, I fast. It depends on the day and what's going on, but I'm typically doing a 14 to 16 hour fast. I've gone as far as 24 hours before. There's always food in my pantry. There's always food in my fridge. I know I can go eat at any time. So it's a choice. So fasting is not starving yourself. Fasting is making a choice. And there's many ways you can do fasting, and we can talk about that on its own. That could be its own just podcast or interview just on fasting, the various forms of fasting. And I do work with my clients to a degree on fast. I don't say anyone ever has to fast, but it is a great strategy. Not only could be for weight loss, but also for cognitive function as well. When your body is using its own body fat for energy and your brain's using ketones, you can get a little bit of a heightened performance, mental performance for sure. Plus benefits of autophagy, which again, I don't get too much into that. That's another topic for another day. But essentially, fasting is not starving yourself. That is a myth for sure. Oh, the next one I'm going to talk about. Sorry, Julie, do you have anything you want to add about fasting before I move on?
This is great. I love it. Yep. Awesome.
Okay, perfect. The other myth that you need to eat every 2 to 3 hours and have lots of small meals. So this, notion of breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, snack, keep your metabolism up. You have to keep constantly eating. This is just a bunch of BS. Biggest myth, and who put this myth out? Food companies. They want you to buy products. They want you to eat more. Eat like, eat 3 main meals and 3 small snacks, etc. It's like, because they need to sell products. They need you to keep buying more things, the donuts, the granola bars, the whatever. Total myth. You don't need to do that. Now, people are going to have different metabolic rates. Obviously, people are going to have different goals, as we've underlined and discussed earlier. Kids have high metabolisms, and they actually need to have maybe more frequent because they're so active in their metabolism. Now, we're not talking about kids. We're talking about the average person or the average adult. If you eat properly structured, fully nutritious, whole food type of meals, you really only need to eat 3 times a day. And like I mentioned, again, not to delve too much into fasting, I only eat twice a day. And I have a small portion. I eat the same amount of calories as I would otherwise. I just have them in a condensed eating window. So, if you're having a proper nutritious breakfast, whatever that time may be, and then another meal, lunch, and dinner, you don't need to eat snacks. So this whole notion of keep your metabolism up all the time just BS. And part of it is, when you eat these non-nutritious foods, you get this huge insulin, / sugar spike, and then you crash and you feel like crap. It's like, oh, well, then have some more food. So you're just doing this up and down all the time because they know this food that they're trying to get you to eat just sucks. It's going to give you a huge spike and a huge crash. Well, they don't want you to have that crash because they know that makes you feel crap. Oh, so have this other junk that we're going to sell you. So you have this, back up again, and you feel good, and you get that sugar high, and then you're crashing, and then okay, then eat something else. So that's just the cycle they're trying to perpetrate. Where if you eat a proper, nutritious, whole foods meal, you're just gonna, of course, when you eat something, you're gonna have a, insulin raise, and then be nice, flat. I guess if you're going this way for the audience. And then it'll slowly come down. Then you have another meal, after like 3-4 hours, what have you. But this sugar spikes is so total myth, total BS marketing to sell more products. I guess I'm going to go on to another. So I guess we kind of alluded to in one of the earlier myths that you need to drink protein shakes.
Right.
Again, the very, very small percentage of the population who's bodybuilding or really needs to put on muscle mass and needs to really have, a lot of protein to build that muscle. Yeah, okay, you need more protein than the average person. I think in general, most people eat way too much protein already without doing protein shakes at all. So the fact that that you have to do that so you get enough protein is just a complete myth. Again, just sort of more marketing BS. The average person, and I see this with clients all the time, the average person just wants to be generally healthy, do a little strength training a couple times a week just to sort of maintain and healthy aging, nice lean muscle mass, maintain lean muscle mass, etc. You are more than likely eating enough protein in your diet. Whether you're keto or paleo or vegan or vegetarian, most people are eating enough protein from whatever source it may come from. You don't really need to supplement with extra protein. So that's just a sort of marketing BS myth again for the majority of people. Again, a little bit different if you're training and actually trying to put on muscle mass. We're not really talking to that very, very small percentage of people there. Glucose or sugar is a body's preferred fuel source. Basically a myth. Your body does need some carbohydrates, which convert to sugar, and your muscle, and I alluded to earlier, your muscles and your liver do store glycogen, which is essentially sugar, for performance, I guess, not for performance, for just daily function, for movement. You're going to tap into those stores, but to say that it's your preferred fuel source is, I think, really led people down the wrong way, and has led people to sort of overdo carbs, as we kind of already alluded to, and sugars and these snacks and everything. Like, I'm doing my body good, I'm refueling, etc. Your body can work just fine on fat and ketones. So when you burn up your own stored body fat, produces ketones, and you can use those ketones for energy. It's actually a lot more efficient. A lot more, clean burning. If you want me to make an analogy, it's like carbohydrates would be gasoline for your car, whereas ketones would be like having an electric car, fully electric car. So most people aren't going to do one or the other. They're going to be a hybrid. Where you're using both depending on the situation, and you need some carbs. There's a lot of evidence as well that ketones are very preferred for brain health. Your brain is like 80% fat, so it makes sense that you would want fat to fuel your brain. Now, your brain does need glucose to a degree as well, but studies have shown much less than what generations before it thought. So I don't think it's the preferred fuel source. I think people can do very well on ketones and burning their own body fat or ingested fat. And I personally believe that, and tend to have a higher fat diet. And I eat plenty of carbs as well. Good healthy carbs, broccoli, cauliflower, vegetables of all sorts. A little bit of fruit and that sort of thing. But you don't need to load up on processed carbs. That's a myth that you need that to function. Moving on here. Sorry, maybe Julia, throw it back at you if you have any questions.
No, this is good. You're hammering it out. I love it. It all makes sense. I just love it because these are all these things. They're ubiquitous, everybody hears them, everybody sees them, and everybody does them because they think that's the right thing to do. So it's just really cool to get your perspective on this.
Sure. I'll just move on then.
Yes.
So I was guilty of this one. I totally believe this, back in the day when I was in high school and university, and I totally bought into a lot of the, I guess, information that came from sort of the bodybuilding industry and the sort of those fitness magazines and, Men's Health and all those others, et cetera, et cetera. I totally bought into it because I didn't know any better. But the next myth is that, if you isolate your abs, you'll lose fat. Just do a million crunches and you're magically the fat will melt away from your midsection. So let me tell you that complete false. So when I was overweight, when I was obese, I was 100 pounds heavier than I am now. I used to do crunches and everything till all the time. And I probably had a very, very, very strong abdominal muscles, but I was still fat. I was just my stomach was all, probably very, very strong and probably all ripped, but you couldn't see it because I had a big layer of fat over top of it. You cannot isolate fat loss. Complete myth. You need to lose, our bodies lose fat overall in conjunction everywhere. So usually our legs and arms get leaner first, then you tend to see it in our face, then comes the sort of chest back, and then the very last place is sort of the midsection, or maybe hips and buttocks for women. But it's usually sort of that very middle section. That's the last place. That's the first place you start to put on fat. It's the last place it comes off. So you can't.
That's interesting. First place and then last place as well.
Yeah. So you can't just do crunches or whatever. First of all, crunches are like probably one of the worst ab exercises. That's another story. No, so planks. Do planks. It's much easier on your back. But you can't crunch away abdominal fat. You just need to lose the fat. And as I mentioned in, I think, part 1 of this series, the best way to lose fat is via nutrition. I believe that's 80% of weight loss, fat loss, is via nutrition. Exercise plays its role for sure. Strength training plays its role, but nutrition is number 1. So you can't just crunch away, or even plank away for that matter, your abdominal fat. So that's a myth there. Awesome. And then I guess that's
part 4. That's part 4. Unless we have one more. We got one more.
Let's power through.
Let's roll. Yes.
Yeah. So the very last myth that I wanted to get in, and there's certainly a lot of others. These are just sort of the ones that I had prepared ahead of time. But one, and this is we're recording this on a weekend. So the myth that you can catch up on your sleep on the weekend. That's a myth. So typically, yes, maybe on the weekend you might. Some people it's the opposite because they stay up late going to movies or going out. Well, not right now because we're all in self-isolation, but even at home you're watching movies. So you actually might go to bed much later than normal, and maybe you sleep in a bit, but maybe you don't even get up. But let's just say for sake of argument, people get more sleep on the weekends. That's great. And you feel great because you got more sleep. You got the sleep that your body wanted or needed for sure. But to say that, I got an extra, let's call it 2 hours, both on Saturday and Sunday. So that extra 2 hours, that extra 4 hours on the weekend made up for my lack of sleep the week prior. That is a myth. You cannot, your body feels good because it got the sleep it needed, but it doesn't make up for the detrimental damage you did to your health by being short of sleep in the week prior. So it's not like I've heard people say it's like a sleep bank, I'm going to put a little extra deposit in on the weekend and then the following week I'm going to, withdraw a little bit and be short of my sleep. It doesn't work like that. Yes, it feels good. Get as much sleep as you can. Certainly get more on the weekend. That helps. But for every day, every hour that you miss in the week prior or the week forward, however you want to look at it, you're not doing your health any favors. You can, I've used this analogy before, I think. You can, we talked about fasting, you can go days without eating. You might feel crummy, but you could still perform. You could not shower and be stinky and that sort of thing, and you could still perform. But go one day without quality sleep and your performance mentally, physically totally starts to go down, and then build that up over, why are people just exhausted on Friday? Because, you lost an hour on Monday, you lost an hour on Tuesday, from what your body needs. And we've talked about sleep before, and I'm not going to delve huge deep into sleep right now. That that's a whole other topic. But when you lose a bit of sleep all the way along, and then like Friday, just like, like life just sucks and you can't wait for the weekend because you're so sleep deprived. Mental acuity has gone down. That whole thing. So we need to have trying to constant sleep. And again, don't want to get delve too much into sleep right now, but you want to be constant. But the whole theory that like you can catch up, it's a bank, I'm going to put an extra deposit in on the weekend, that is a total myth. Now, you feel good on the weekends, sure, you got what your body wanted, but you did the reverse 5 days of the week. So you're hurting yourself 5 days a week to maybe feel good 2 days a week. Like it just doesn't jive for your long-term health. And sleep is super, super important, not only for just overall health, cognitive function, but also plays a role in weight loss and fat loss as well, because sleep does affect our hormones. Yeah, that's that myth. That myth is false for sure. So that's pretty much a wrap up on these health myths.
That's awesome. Anyway, that last one too, you hear people say that all the time too. I'm just got to catch up on some sleep and then I'll be good. It's in a common parlance. That's what we all say, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I used to believe that as well. And I mean, am I perfect? No, I still sometimes go to bed later than I should have, and something happens and you get up earlier than you should have, or what have you. Or sometimes you make that conscious decision because, oh, I'm gonna finish that movie or whatever, right? But yeah, let's not fool ourselves that we're doing our health, long-term health, any good with playing that game. So.
Right. I heard somebody say sleep is the centerpiece of health.
Oh, for sure. It's critical.
Maybe it was critical. You that said that.
Yeah, I totally believe that. I don't know if I would have worded it that way. It doesn't sound like my word.
It might have been on the news. I heard that it was like a psychologist talking about mental health. I think that might have been maybe right.
Yeah, it's super, super important. And yeah, just to bring it up, for mental health, for sure. There's so many studies coming out now for people with, anxiety or, ADHD or, even autism to a degree, although that's a more complex issue for sure, or various other mental health, is just getting extra sleep, just getting proper quality sleep. And again, we could do a whole interview just on sleep because there's a lot of nuances there, but just at a high level, that just getting proper quality sleep can really enhance some of the symptoms or the, of mental health. People feel a lot better. They have less anxiety. For kids with ADHD, they don't have outbursts as much if they get quality sleep. And there's a lot of other factors too. So sleep's not the only thing with these things, but it definitely plays a role for sure.
Right. Well, Deepak, thank you. This has been a 4-part series of you talking about all these common health myths, and they've blown my mind. I know it's just nice. So a lot of things, like I know I've known sort of like intuitively, but it's so nice to just be like, no, actually, that's actually crap, So thank you. Where can people get a hold of you if they want to get some help? Because you're a health performance and longevity coach, where can people reach you?
Right. So probably a couple places. My website, Deepak Saini Health, DeepakSaini Health.com is my website. You can learn more about me, my backstory, kind of how I work with my clients on a very individual basis, but you get an idea of kind of how I structure my programs from that. My YouTube channel, Deepak Saini Health, where I post a lot of things on there on various topics, sometimes just funny, goofy things that I do or experiments that I work on. D Saini Health on Twitter, and then on Facebook, Deepak Saini Health, and I guess also on LinkedIn for any of those people who are on LinkedIn as well, Deepak Saini Health there as well.
Awesome. Well, Deepak, thank you so much again. I appreciate you, and I would love if you would do another interview at some time, if you'd be open to it, because...
Oh, you bet. I love doing this. And I love your energy, Julie. So again, I appreciate you having me on. Gratitude for that. And yeah, I still gotta, well, I guess we're kind of self-isolation. I'm trying to minimize how much I go outside, but I still got to find that Julie energy drink. So
that's right.
Yeah, I haven't found it yet. So
that's right. All right, my friend, it's time for the boom.
Okay. All right.
Let's do this. Oh, boom. Yes, that's right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Gratitude.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.